Hello everyone and welcome back to another Life as Nasby with me, Natalie Sherlock, and today we're going to be talking about a few autism myths and why they annoy me and the reality instead of the myth. So without further ado, let's get started. So the first one is that all autistic people lack empathy. This really bugs me because I'm probably one of the most empathetic human beings on the planet. I am an empath. Probably the most extreme example of my empathy is that I once sobbed uncontrollably for like 10 whole minutes because I thought Mother had murdered a spider. Fortunately for all those arachnophiles out there, he survived. So I called him Lazarus because he came back from the dead. So basically, I'll tell you the story quickly. There was a spider in the bath. I went to get something. I got something to cover it. And then when I was getting something to slide underneath, like a bit of card, when I came back, to my horror, Mother was spraying him with the shower, and he appeared lifeless, dead. I was very upset. And anyway, we took him outside. I was crying and everything, and I was very sorry for the poor spider. And then we watched him, and he came back to life. He started moving, and I was really happy. But yeah, so also my aversion to any injustice, and not just me. If I hear of any injustice, like I cannot watch soap operas because they contain too much injustice. There are people, sort of going through things like, and everything like that. And people around me, like in real life, like if I hear someone telling the story of how they were hurt by somebody or whatever, that makes me really angry, and I can't deal with it. So I am incredibly empathetic. So that is the reality. So I think where the myth comes from is that we don't really know how to express certain feelings. Another version of my extreme empathy was when I was 3 years old, and it was Christmas of 1999. So I'd only been bereaved of a father for about 3 months, and I had the flu. So which may have, caused the sort of thing that is to follow. So for Christmas that year, I got a videotape of Elmo. So because I absolutely I was obsessed with Sesame Street. Excuse me a second. I'm just going to close this curtain, so that the sunlight, as lovely as it is, does not interfere with the smooth lighting of this video. So where was I? That's right, Elmo. So in the video that I got, Elmo first of all spilled orange juice on his blanket, and that was pretty bad enough as it is. Then he took it to the laundrette. Things got worse. He saw Zoe, and they fought over it, and she tore his blanket. But then Elmo lost his blanket, and that was me. That was me finished. And I could not. I was just inconsolable, in floods of tears. And like I said, it may have been the flu, it may have been the bereavement, but I was just so empathetic towards Elmo and losing his blanket that I just couldn't watch it. And in fact, I didn't watch it the end until I was 18. So it took me 15 years to watch this video. And fortunately, you'll be happy to hear that Elmo found his blanket in the end, so all was well. So if I'd have just hung on till the end, and that is a good life lesson. Just keep going until the end, because you don't know how it's going to turn out. So anyway, I think we've spent far too long on that first one, because we have got 10 to get through. So the second one is all autistic people are good at ... So they're either good at maths or art or music, etc. So I am terrible at maths. It took me 3 attempts to pass my maths GCSE. I have always been really terrible at maths. I'm better now than I was, but it depends on the concept and the level of, like, because when I was a teaching assistant, obviously I had and I was fine with that maths. Even like the year 6 stuff, I was fine with. I could just about cope with. But like, obviously, if I were to attempt any higher than that, I'd probably get confused very quickly. Well, depending on what it was, of course. There are subjects in maths that, like, some of them are easier to follow than others. But yeah, so maths, art, I mean, I do, because I am an artist, but I don't have like extreme art skills like some people that I know of. And I get a little bit annoyed about that, but you can't, because like, everyone's talents are different. Everyone and as for music, I've tried learning multiple instruments. I did learn the piano when I was I had keyboard lessons when I was a child rather. But I've never been like super gifted at music, which is also annoying to me. But I think I could if I set my mind to it, but hey ho. Yeah, so not all autistic people are good at X, Y, Z, like maths, or art or music, etc. So that's like a stereotype. Number 3, moving on to number 3, all autistic people are obsessed with ... trains, planes, cars. They're the most common sort of autistic, stereotypical, or like superheroes, or whatever it might be. My autistic obsession, yes, we do all, or most of us, have some form of hyperfixation, but we all have different hyperfixations. So mine is comedies, like history, like all that kind of stuff. Yeah, mainly comedy and history, and certain like music, like certain bands. Well, The Who mainly. I could talk for hours on The Who and their work. But I won't. Don't worry. Don't switch off. And obviously I can talk at length, and have done, about sitcoms, etc. So yeah, we do have but not, we don't all have the same ones. Yeah, so I thought I'd just touch briefly on that. All autistic people are introverts. This is total twaddle. I once heard an autism expert describe it thus, that that autism is basically like a magnifying glass for your personality, like a magnifier. So if you are naturally introverted, then you'll be super introverted. But if you're natural extrovert, then you'll be super extrovert. So, and they also said personality before diagnosis, which is so true. Like, that's what you got to remember. So yeah. Not all autistic people are introverts. We have this image of people, autistic people, like in their rooms all the time, like, you know, punishment as for an autistic person being, oh, come out of your room, like, yeah. So, but that's not true. Not for all of us. Some people are like that, yeah, sure, but not like you can't, you know, you can't sort of say that every autistic person is an introvert. And I've had people like, oh, you can't be autistic because you talk too much or whatever. But actually, especially for autism in girls, can present as incredibly loquacious, which is I am. And I just think that's, you know, it's like, oh, come on, man, you know. Yeah, so number 5, all autistic people are geniuses. Well, this is sadly not true. Although, so I think where the confusion comes from is the fact that there is a type of autism called savantism, which is where a person is incredibly gifted at a certain thing, like memory or you know, sort of maths, like well, I mean Einstein, I suppose, or, you know, these sort of Sheldon Cooper type, Rain Man, these stereotypical autistics, Sheldon Cooper and Rain Man, I mean, not Einstein, but he was definitely autistic. Anyway, yeah, so not all of them, or not all of us are geniuses. I consider myself highly intelligent, but I wouldn't go as far as to say a genius, because, you know, that's just bragging, that's just boasting or whatever. And like, obviously I don't know everything, and I don't want to know everything. I know what I know. I like knowing what I know, and I also like learning new things, but, you know, there's limits, you know. So that's that one ticked off. Number 6, autism only occurs in boys, which is complete rubbish. Basically, this, I don't think this myth, I think this myth has like sort of become less over the years. The more girls that are diagnosed with autism, but autism is still severely underdiagnosed in girls. The autism was originally diagnosed in boys, so it was, well, particularly, well, Asperger's, the particular type of autism that I have, was discovered in 1944, but was not actually recognized in girls, females, until 1994. 50 years of women being, like, you know, brushed aside. Oh, that's only for boys. No, you know, total rubbish. Like, literally, like, that makes me really cross, actually, because, like, I wasn't diagnosed until I was 18, and because it presents differently in girls than boys, you know, like, people, they just thought, oh, it's different, it's not that. But there are literal different facets and things to everything. So that's, yeah, that's rubbish. Autism only affects children, again, rubbish. Obviously, autism is a congenital, is, well, you have it from birth. You know, it can't be cured, and neither should it be. Of course, depending, because there are so many different, because it's a spectrum, you know, you have some people, like, there are different levels of autism, and those in the kind of ones that, the category of people that really, really struggle, and what would be called low functioning. I hate that term, low functioning and high functioning. I don't think that they should be used because they're inaccurate and also quite offensive. For both ends of the spectrum, because, like, if you're being called low functioning, but also high functioning, you're like saying, oh, like, that person doesn't have these struggles. No, that's false, because we do have these struggles. We just mask them, etc. So, obviously, you don't grow out of it. Like, there are treatments, there are sort of therapies that you can have depending on your level of autism, that can help you to to communicate more effectively. Or, there are people that are non-verbal but can communicate on a device, which is amazing. So, like, yeah, so there's that. Obviously, doesn't only affect children. 8. Autism is caused by ... Now, there are several of these that are very, very dangerous. The first and primary one, of course, as we all know, is like the whole vaccine thing. So the doctor that originally came up with this theory has been struck off, and rightly so, because they say vaccines cause autism. Like, there are so many, like, people that haven't had vaccines that are autistic, and so many people that have had vaccines that aren't autistic. So there's no evidence, there's no I mean, mother insists that I changed after I had my vaccines, but it was there from the beginning, from day one. When I was born, like, they took me for a hearing test, and my score was like, my ears were so sensitive, I literally jumped. I nearly jumped out of the car, because I was so, this noise was so loud to me. So, it just goes to show that, yeah, all right, it may have exacerbated it, but it didn't cause it. I had it to start with. The other thing is, like, certain types of medicines, etc. I don't know about that, but surely, like, again, this is the same argument. People that haven't had these types of medicines whilst they were pregnant have had children that are autistic, and vice versa. And the final one being brain damage. Now, that I really get offended by that. Like, the fact that, oh yeah, autism is brain damage. Well, it's not true, because, like, it's shown, like, scans and MRIs and stuff of different parts of the brain lighting up and everything. It's not brain damage. It's just differently. We're just wired differently. Our brains function differently. So that is number 8. I know I'm flying through these, but I've been. This video is 20 minutes already, and I've got 2 more to go, so let's crack on. Autistic people can't work or have lasting relationships. I mean, obviously, that's utter twaddle. I've had several jobs, granted, I'm not working at the moment, and I'm not in a position where I can sort of or want to work for other people. I want to or need to be self-employed, and I'm working on that. I'm working on my public speaking career, and I also want to. I've got many things in the pipeline. So yeah. But like there are loads of autistic people that have that are in long-term employment. Not as many as we would like, but still there are some. And the same goes for lasting relationships. I mean, there are loads of autistic people that are married and have children. I mean, it's just quite ridiculous, the implication that we can't, sort of. I mean, obviously, single person talking, at the moment, single asexual talking, so not really the right. I'm not doing much for the stereotypes, but this particular myth, I know to be incorrect, because there are so many people that do have autism and are married and in work. So there you go. And finally, the PS to resistance. I'm gonna have to prepare myself, because everyone is a little bit autistic. That really, I'm not going to say a word, I'm not going to say any bad words, but insert bad word here, me off. Because it's simply not true, and it's insulting, and the fact that sort of like literally 1% of the population are autistic. Just one. If everyone was a little bit autistic, the world would be a much better place, let me tell you. And people I personally love and admire have said it, and I know that this is only because they are autistic but cannot admit it to themselves. So yeah. So maybe one day. But yeah, that really annoys me. Like I said, I think it's 1.5% of the population. I'll put the actual statistic on the screen. But yeah, that really, really bugs me, because it's saying it's taking away from autistic people's struggles, and us being so I don't know exactly what I was going to say there, but yeah, it takes away from our struggles, and it sort of brushes us off to the side, just says, oh, everyone's a little bit autistic. No, they're not. I have met plenty of neurotypicals, trust me. And I can tell, I have a very good autism radar. I can very quickly tell if someone is neurodivergent, either have autism or ADHD and stuff like that. So yeah, that is the end of my list of autism myths, and I hope you enjoyed, and I am just going to sign off now and say goodbye. God bless, and continue being awesome.